The other one was stuck way in North Augusta and couldn't get here. It was harder for them to get here than it was for her to
you
get
mute
here.
out your line if you come into the room as well. We'll start here in about 4 more minutes. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. All right, Shell, we have about 3 more minutes before we get started. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for the Small Business Recovery Workshop hosted by the Downtown Development Authority and the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce. This is a request made by the SBA. They have some critical information to get out still to our area. So we'll get started here about 2:05. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for hopping in. We'll get started here about 2:05. I'll show about 2 minutes till that time from what I see. This is a small business recovery workshop hosted by Downtown Development Authority and the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce with our partners, the SBA. So we'll get started here shortly.
In a new tub, expand the shower, maybe some heated tub.
Good, no appointment.
Okay, Brian, I show it is 2:05. I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody, to our Small Business Recovery Resources Workshop. Thank you all for coming, and adapting to our changing logistics with the snow here in Augusta. We were going to have an in-person workshop at the municipal building, but it was closed due to the weather. So we want to thank the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce for jumping in and setting up the Zoom option for us. And so we're recording this, and we'll have this available as a link for others to watch later. So first, want to start out if Tara and Ronick want to say a few opening words about their organizations. We're being hosted by the Downtown Development Authority of Augusta and the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce, and we thank them for helping set up this event.
Hey, everybody. I'm Tara Wood with Downtown Development Authority. We are happy to be here to co-host this event with Ronique with the Greater Augusta Black Chamber and the Small Business Administration. For the Downtown Development Authority, if there's any information you need from us, you can always go to our website at augustadda.com, and under the resources tab, we have grants and low interest loan information available on the resources tab. So thank you for being here. Ronique?
Let me get off of mute first. Thank you, Tara, for the introduction. So we're excited to be hosting this joint actual small business recovery workshop today. You've been following the Chamber and the Downtown Development Authority. We have been very active since the hurricane to support our small business owners in our community and getting information out to you guys. Hopefully you've been getting all the information that you need to get your applications in. If not, they'll cover a lot of information today to make sure you have gotten it in before the deadline hits. If you want to connect with the Chamber, we're all about business, community, and government being the conduit between the three. Go to our website, www.mygabc.org. And Brian, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Ronique and Tara. Okay, so I'm going to go straight into my presentation now. So my name is Brian Beard. I'm a public affairs specialist for the Small Business Administration, Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. And we work alongside FEMA when there's a presidential disaster declaration, such as Hurricane Helene. Okay, so the disaster loan program at SBA, a lot of people think about SBA as helping small businesses, which is what our primary task is, which does provide assistance to small business owners. And Terry Dennison from our Georgia District Office is going to talk about that some more a bit later. But our disaster assistance program is a somewhat separate entity, and we are activated in conjunction with a major disaster declaration, or what we call a presidential disaster declaration, which is what happened with Hurricane Helene in Georgia and 6 other states as well, and which both FEMA and the SBA are on the ground helping people out. We also have smaller disaster declarations that we call an agency declaration, which is SBA only for smaller disasters. But our loan program is designed to help survivors with their long-term recovery needs. We do that by providing disaster loans to cover any uninsured or underinsured or otherwise uncompensated losses. And not just for businesses, but for homeowners, renters, nonprofits, and businesses of all sizes. And these loans are directly from the federal government, and they're not from a bank. So the interest rate will not change. It's fixed. Once you get that loan approved, the terms will not change for the life of the loan. So we have a few different types of loans. The loans for businesses and nonprofits or private nonprofits to help with real estate, the actual building, inventory, equipment, et cetera. You can borrow up to $2 million. And also we have economic injury loans which provide working capital to small businesses and private nonprofits. And when we say small businesses, that includes businesses that might have a couple hundred employees. So, what you might consider a medium-sized business. So even if a business or a private nonprofit did not have any physical damage, if they had a drop in sales income and are not able to meet their monthly expenses, they can get working capital. So the total that a business or a nonprofit can get is $2 million. And that can be a combination of physical damage loan and or an economic injury loan, and also mitigation. If you are approved for a physical damage loan for your home or business or nonprofit, you can request an additional 20% of the total verified damage to use to build back stronger. And we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. Homeowners can borrow up to $500,000 to repair or replace their primary residence where they live at least half the time. And then homeowners and renters can borrow up to $100,000 to repair or replace their personal property. I know we're focusing mainly on businesses for this session today, but I want to, since everyone was affected by the disaster and you may have damage to your own home, I want to make sure everyone's aware of all the types of loans that we do offer. Yeah, you could borrow up to $50,000 for physical damage without any closing costs or collateral. So if the loan is $50,000 or less, you don't have to have a lien on your home or business. For businesses and small businesses, private nonprofits, if you get an economic injury loan in addition, you can get up to $50,000 unsecured, without collateral for physical damage, plus $50,000 for the economic injury loan, for a total of $100,000. But for homeowners, you can get up to $50,000 without closing costs or collateral. So the first year, there's no interest or payments. But after that first year, the interest rates are as low as 4% for most businesses, 3.25% for private nonprofit organizations, and as low as 2.813% for most homeowners and renters. Okay, in order to qualify for a loan for an SBA disaster loan, you need to have a home or business that has a physical presence in the declared county. So in the case of a business, you have to have a brick and mortar location in that county. You have to have a credit history that's acceptable to the SBA, and we must be able to document that you have the ability to repay that loan, and as well as other existing debts. It's okay to have a pre-existing loan from the SBA or elsewhere, as long as you're up to date with the payments and you can demonstrate the ability to repay that loan. If your loan application is declined or put into withdrawn status, you have 6 months from the date of the letter you get to provide additional information and a request reconsideration. So if you do apply, we encourage people to pay attention to your email, check your junk mail folder, if you're doing it online, go to the online portal and regularly and check your status so that you don't miss any requests for more information. Okay, so the SBA disaster loans have a lot of advantages to them compared to other types of loans or debt. It's a very low interest rate and it will not change for the life of the loan. Even if you've already gotten a bank loan or use your credit card to pay for repairs to your home or business, you can still apply for an SBA loan and replace that more expensive debt with a low-cost SBA loan. As I mentioned before, there's no payments or interest accrued for the first year. Your first payment doesn't happen until 1 year after you get your money dispersed to you. And since there's no cost to apply and no payment penalty, we encourage people to apply now and decide later. You have no cost also to decline a loan offer. So keep your options open and apply now, and then you can always decide later whether you want it or not. And since there's no cost to apply, no prepayment penalty, and no interest for the first year, if you pay off your loan in less than a year, you won't be paying any interest at all. So that's a definite advantage. The loan terms can be up to 30 years, which means low payments. So for example, in Georgia, if you had a home loan at 2.813% for a total of $25,000, it would only be about $100 per month. So it's very affordable. If you do get a loan offer, you have no obligation to accept that loan. There's no cost to decline that loan offer, and you can always accept a lower amount than what's offered. For example, might want to keep it at $50,000 as a max, so you won't have to have any collateral or closing costs. If you do decline a loan offer, you have 6 months to change your mind and decide, contact us and say that you want to take the loan after all. As I mentioned, if the loan is $50,000 or less, there's no lien on your home or business, and there's no collateral and no closing costs. If you do have insurance, but the deductible is fairly high, you can get a loan just to cover that deductible. And I mentioned before, the possibility of mitigation. So you can, if you're accepted for a physical damage loan for home or business or nonprofit, you can request an additional 20% of the total damage to be added onto that loan, so you can build back stronger, put on a stronger roof, storm shutters, build a safe room, or if you had problems with water flooding, you could raise up your utilities a few feet off the floor of the basement, or change the landscaping, something like that. There have been studies that shown that for every dollar spent on mitigation to make your place more resilient, you can save up to $6 in future damage. And also, even though we do not cover damage that's also covered by insurance, you don't have to wait for your insurance settlement. After Hurricane Ian in Florida, a lot of people waited 5 or 6 months before they got their insurance settlement, and by that time it was too late to apply for an SBA loan. So you can go ahead and apply, even if you have insurance, you can go ahead and apply for your loan, and if you get that first installment on the loan, you can go ahead and start repairs, and then the insurance, when it comes in, can pay off that loan. And even though our home loans are only for your primary residence, where you live at least half the year, if you have a secondary home that you rent out, rental property of some type, or multiple rental properties, if you're earning income on those rental properties and paying taxes on that income, just like a regular business, then you can get a business loan as low as 4% to cover the damages to those rental properties. And also, our loans might be eligible on a case-by-case basis for refinancing or relocation. That's only in extreme cases. If the damage to your home is over 50% of the value of your home, then you may be able to refinance a portion of your mortgage with that loan payment. For example, if you had a home that's worth $300,000 and you had $160,000 in damage to your home, that's more than half of the value of the home. Up to $160,000 of existing mortgage might be eligible to be refinanced with the loan, so combined at that lower rate. Because we want to try to keep people in their homes, but that's on a case-by-case basis when you have a really extensive damage. Okay, so I mentioned before that for businesses and nonprofits, you can get a total of $2 million as your loan limit. That can be a combination of physical damage, economic injury, a drop in sales, so that you need working capital, and also mitigation improvements to build back stronger and prevent future damage. Okay, your business loan can be used to repair or replace the building itself where your business is, machinery, equipment, fixtures, inventory, and leasehold improvements. But the loan may not be used to upgrade or expand your business unless the building codes require you to build back, in a different way, build back stronger to meet the codes. Then that can be covered in the loan. Okay, so what types of businesses are eligible to apply for these economic injury disaster loans? The working capital loans. They're available to small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, aquaculture businesses, like fish farming, and most private nonprofit organizations. So this includes businesses that are directly affected by the disaster.
Them to practice reaching consensus.
But
and
also,
like to teach them how to
if
do
everyone
that,
could
give them
please make sure your microphone is muted. Appreciate that. But they're also available to businesses that offer services that are related to the businesses in the primary counties of the declaration. So I'll show you the map in a minute. So we have 63 counties in Georgia that were part of the Presidential Disaster Declaration. And in those 63 counties, you can get physical damage loans and the economic injury loans. But the economic injury loans are also available in the adjacent counties to the ones that are declared. And I'll show you that map in a minute here. Okay, so as I mentioned, small businesses and private nonprofits, including in the adjacent counties that have substantial economic injury, may be eligible for an economic injury disaster loan, even if they didn't have any physical damage. And that means that economic injury means you're unable to meet your regular monthly obligations and pay your ordinary and necessary operating expenses, such as utilities, insurance, payroll, taxes, lease payments, payments of fixed debts, etc. And as I mentioned before, even if you have a pre-existing loan, a disaster loan or a COVID loan, that you're still eligible to apply for a new loan as long as you can, as long as you're up to date on your payments of your existing loans and can show the ability to repay. But these loans cannot be used to expand your business or to pay off other loans. Okay, so here's the map that I was referring you to. All those counties that are in green are the 63 counties that were declared as part of the disaster declaration. The red dots are where we did have disaster recovery centers and mobile disaster recovery centers from FEMA. Several of those have closed by now, but you can see the path of the storm as it went, from Valdosta up through Augusta before swinging more to the northwest. So those are all the counties that are, the green counties are the ones that are the primary counties, and the yellow counties are the ones that are adjacent to those primary counties that are contiguous to those counties. So the physical damage loans are available in all those green counties, but the economic injury disaster loans for small businesses and private nonprofits are available in all those green counties, plus all the yellow counties, the ones that are contiguous to. And Stevens County up in the northeast, just below Rabun County, is also a primary county that was added after the initial declaration. Okay, so when we have a disaster declaration, there's usually a 60-day deadline for the physical damage loans and also to register with FEMA. And then if the governor requests it, they will do extensions. So we've already had 2 extensions, one to January 7th and the most recent to February 7th. So the current deadline for physical damage loans from the SBA is February 7th. That's also the deadline for Tropical Storm Debbie and also the deadline for FEMA. If you're applying, because business owners often don't know how long they might be affected by a disaster, or the effect might be delayed as far as when they experience that drop in sales and inability to meet their monthly expenses. So the economic injury disaster loans have a 9-month window. So the deadline for that is not until June 30th for Hurricane Helene and June 27th for Tropical Storm Debbie. And as I'd already mentioned, that the economic injury loans are available regardless of whether you had any physical damage to your business. Okay, and so we do have these deadlines stated, but there is now a 60-day grace period. So that means that from February 7th, you'll still have another 60 days in which you can apply for a loan, but it will probably have to be done online because our disaster recovery centers tend to start shutting down, near the deadline. We had one open in Fulton County more recently, so it'll probably be going up until the deadline. I can't guarantee that. And also the one in Augusta at the hub at 631 Chafee Avenue. Since Augusta had some of the most severe damage in the state, that might be one of the last ones closing as well. But that decision is made by the state emergency management and FEMA. Okay, and we have 3 different ways to apply. You can go online to lending.sba.gov. You can visit one of our SBA business recovery centers with just SBA there, or a FEMA disaster recovery center, which has both FEMA and SBA staff to get in-person help while applying. I was just referring to those recovery centers. such as the one in Augusta. And you can also call our 800-659-2955 number to ask any questions or check your status. And you can also email disaster customer service at sba.gov to learn more, get your questions answered, or to check your status. If you're going to email that email address to check on your status of an existing application, it's better to put your name and your loan application number in the subject line for quicker service. And then once you've applied, an SBA loan officer will review your credit, your repayment ability, and make a loan decision. Usually in 3 weeks with a large volume. Sometimes it does take longer. The loan officer will discuss that decision with you. Your loan amount is based on your ability to repay and not just the assessment of the amount of damage. And if you're offered a certain loan amount, you can decide to accept the lower amount if you don't want to accept that full amount. Once the loans are executed and returned to the SBA, the legal department can then authorize the disbursement of your loan. It usually only takes 5 days for that to happen once get to that point. And the first disbursement is usually $50,000, and then you would provide receipts for subsequent payments, showing that you'd spent 80% of the money. Okay, so in order to apply for an SBA loan, you need contact information for all the applicants, the cell phone number for the applicant to verify your identity, Social Security numbers for all the applicants, and if it's a business, for all the owners, and also employee identification numbers if it's a business. You want financial information such as income, account balances, monthly expenses for the business, information about your deed or lease, the tax return for the previous year, and if you're applying for an economic injury disaster loan for working capital, since they want to look at what your regular income was and expenses over a period of time, and then see what it's been since the disaster, especially for businesses that have more of a seasonal income that goes up and down, they might want to look at 3 years of previous income tax returns so they can look at those averages. And then also they would want to look at your insurance information if that's available. And in order to apply, you want to make sure you don't have any outstanding federal debts, such as unpaid taxes or child support, or late on a previous SBA loan, et cetera. So if you are behind on other federal payments, you want to get on a payment plan before you apply for your loan, because that would improve your chances of getting accepted if you're already on a payment plan. And if you did have a previous loan for a disaster, if it had an insurance requirement, you have to maintain that insurance requirement. Okay, so the SBA, in addition to our district office, and Terry's going to talk to you in a couple minutes about that, we also have a lot of resource partners that help business owners. In addition to the Small Business Development Center, which is located at University of Georgia, several campuses of the University of Georgia, including here in Augusta, and we're going to hear from them in a minute. But we also have women's business centers, veterans business outreach centers, Apex accelerators that help people with import-export, and SCORE is a bunch of volunteers or retired business owners that volunteer and help new business owners. So we have a lot of different partners that help people develop business models, marketing plans, financial statements, and give lots of technical training and advice to people. And so you're going to hear a little bit more about that in a minute. Okay, so, and if everybody could please make sure to mute your microphone. Thank you. Okay, so the SBA's Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. If you want more information, you can go to sba.gov/disaster, and I already mentioned the 800 number and our email address previously, 659-2955, and disaster customer service at sba.gov. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I'd be happy to respond to them. And so could we now hear from the Small Business Development Center?
Do that. All righty. Everybody hear me okay? Okay. Hi, I'm Eric Ricky with the University of Georgia Small Business Development Center in Augusta. We're located on the corner of Pleasant Home Road and Davis Road. We're available by appointment. Our office covers 13 counties, and we're a public service, partly funded by the SBA. And so we have been supporting SBA for a number of years with various disaster loans, most recently through COVID and the PPP loan program and the EIDL program. And so what we do is we help small business owners navigate these disasters. I think the most important thing to remember here is that we help our small business owners. We look at and help them determine how much funding they're going to need to bring them back to pre-disaster conditions. We help them with their financials, make sure that they have the capacity to pay that loan back. And sometimes there's cases where there's money they have that they didn't realize they had. So in looking at financials, for instance, we look at receivables that have yet to be collected. We look at assets that they may have on their balance sheets that are not producing income that they could possibly liquidate. And so, it's a big, we're big on financials. We want to make sure that, our small business owners can qualify for these loans and have the ability to pay them back properly. The SBDC office is not just about financials, but we also help with marketing, government contracting, intellectual property. So we have a diverse set of skills. We have 18 offices across the state. So in the event that our office can't assist you, there's 48 to 50 other consultants across the state that they can come in and help. So, but Rebecca and I run this office, and we've been working this office for about 11 years now. So we can tell you a lot of stories, things that happens, and things like that. So anyway, that's the broader view of our services. Like I said earlier, we're available by appointment, and we're in West Augusta, and we're here to help. Brian, I turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Sure.
And now Terry Dennison from the SBA District Office for Georgia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, I'm still muted.
You're good.
Am I good? Okay. It was probably delayed. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to be here today to spend a few moments to kind of share with you about General SBA, the non-disaster resources specifically that we offer and we oversee through the Georgia District Office. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pop up my my PowerPoint here. Let's see. And let me know, can you see the slide before I put it on slideshow or no?
Not yet, Terry.
Okay.
Now we do.
Now you do? Yeah, a little bit of delay there. So let me go ahead and put it on slideshow, beginning. Okay, so now you should see a nice big blue slide. Of course, I can't see you guys. So let's go ahead and get started.
Might be a delay. We're not seeing the slide yet.
Okay. So let me know when you see it. Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Make sure I shared. I thought I did. Oh, let's try. Maybe now. Okay, here we go.
It looks
Obviously,
good.
okay, there we go. Try again. So basically, like I said, the Georgia District Office really kind of works with the non-disaster related resources and programs of the agency. And there's three nice, neat little buckets we tend to put them in: capital access, counseling and education, and contracting assistance, specifically federal contracting. So I'm going to take it in that order. Okay. So in terms of capital access, I always start off with this. We might as well just get it out the way. We do not have grants that go directly to small businesses for general financing of their operations, either to start up or to continue operations, or direct loans, unlike our colleagues in disaster recovery. Basically, how the quote unquote regular SBA capital access programs work is that we primarily guarantee loans, business loans made by commercial lenders and community development financial institutions. And in some cases, we also provide funding in the form of a low interest loan to these CDFIs, community development financial institutions, who serve as SBA microlenders, who then relend that money to the business owner. So a lot of times people, when they hear guarantee, are like, well, how is that going to help me and my business access capital? Basically, when we guarantee a loan, we're saying if something goes wrong with that loan and the lender did everything they were supposed to do, closing it properly, administering it properly, we will reimburse them an agreed upon percentage of the balance of that loan. So we're now essentially reducing the risk to that lender, which would hopefully entice them to say yes versus no on a loan application. With that guarantee, a lot sometimes we are able to, or the lender feels more comfortable in requiring less in equity investment or investment from the business versus the debt loan that's going to finance the project. And then also it allows for a loan to be have a longer term and be fully amortized, as we call it, basically equal principal payments over the life of the loan, so you don't have a large balloon payment at the end to contend with. Oops, something. Sorry about that. Got these. There we go. In terms of the programs, we have three main programs: the microloan program, what we call our 504 loan program, and 7A loan program. And I'll touch on each of those briefly. The microloan program, as the name suggests, focuses on smaller loans. The maximum is $50,000. The average is around 14,000. The loans are made once again by participating community development financial institutions or other what we call mission-oriented nonprofit lenders. The proceeds can be used for working capital, inventory, supplies, equipment, etc. In some cases, it may be used to refinance a borrower debt when the financing will, of course, help the business. The loan requirements vary somewhat among the different micro lenders. And the important thing is that the micro lending organization is required to provide technical assistance to that borrower pre-loan, during the lending process, and more importantly, post-loan, so that the business will be successful and be more likely to repay it. The 504 loan program involves commercial lenders and an entity that we call a certified development company that is approved by SBA. And those CDCs, as we call them, tend to be community-based and more community-focused in their lending and are nonprofits. In combination between a commercial lender and the CDC, you could actually leverage up to 13 million in financing. And it can be used in conjunction with another loan program, such as our 7A program or even microloan program. The key here is that the only things that can be financed with this loan is fixed assets. So it's got to be commercial real estate or some type of maybe heavy machinery equipment, like production equipment that has a longer useful life of, say, 10 years or more. And this is kind of just what we call the typical structure of the loan, because it does involve a commercial lender. And that commercial lender will have a senior position. They will cover with their financing at least 50% of the project. So if it was a $100,000 project, they would cover 50,000 with that loan. That rate can be either variable or fixed. The certified development company, which is approved by SBA with that status, uh, provides a loan uh, up to 40% of the project cost. And the good thing about it is it's a fixed rate, first of all, and it's based on the Treasury rate, which historically been lower than your prime interest rate, right? And we guarantee that loan 100%. We do have a certified development company in the CSRA Business Lenders that works both on the Georgia side and the South Carolina side of the area. So if we say, once again, $100,000, 50,000 provided by that commercial lender, a second loan provided through the certified development company with the involvement of the SBA for 40,000, that would mean in most cases the borrower would put in 10% versus or 10,000 versus more, which could happen with a conventional loan. A little more is required if it's a new business, less than 2 years old, or something we call a single-use facility, a structure that can't be easily converted into another use. Okay, and I have lost, there we go, controls there. The 7A program is really our broadest and most flexible loan product. The maximum loan with this guarantee can be up to $5 million. And of course, it's provided, those are done by participating SBA lenders. Many of them are commercial for-profit lenders, the larger lenders that we all know on a national and regional level, as well as community or more local lenders that have been approved by SBA to do this. The loan terms can be anywhere from around 10 years, say for working capital or shorter life assets, up to 25 years for commercial real estate. And once again, it can be used in conjunction with, say, the 504 program or another loan program. So, for example, if you have a project that involves commercial real estate, a new building, a new facility, you could use the 504 for that. And but if you still have need for like working capital or things that aren't eligible under the 504 program, the 7A guaranteed loan can provide funds for those other business needs as part of the project. This slide is just to simply say that you may see these terms, and we speak of them as if they're different programs. And they have different purposes, such as guaranteeing asset-based lines of credit or providing financing to support exporting and international trade or something more community focused, but they all stem from the 7A program. Couple things in terms of consideration of how the loans are looked at. The easiest way I think to look at it is eligibility first and foremost. If it's not eligible, then we don't have to deal with the deal feasibility or whether this is a good deal to approve. The eligibility comes from the fact that, of course, we're a federal government agency. There's public policy around what Congress and others intend those resources through the SBA to be used for. And so there's eligibility criteria as a result of that. So, for example, unlike with our colleagues in disaster, where for-profits are eligible, nonprofits are eligible. In this case, with the regular SBA lending, only for-profit entities. We do not finance or provide loans with the SBA guarantee for nonprofits. Of course, it has to qualify as a small business in line with SBA size standards. The project can be speculative in nature. An example I always like to use is you hear that GDOT's going to put a new exit through a certain parcel of land. So you want to buy that land and hold on to it until that project comes to fruition. That would not be eligible for SBA-backed financing. It has to be owner-occupied real estate and non-passive in income. So owner-occupied simply means that generally you can't have total, lease it out, buy something and lease it out 100%. There should be a business operating majority of that space. You can lease out some parts of it, anywhere from maybe, let's see, a third to 49%, depending whether it's new construction or um, existing construction, existing facility. But there has to be an owner. You as the business owner and the business have to be operating from there. And then refinancing is allowed with the 7A or and also with the 504 program. Um, but the key is that the refinance debt has to be current. It has to be less than 29 years. I mean, 29 years, 29 days in the arrears. It can't be 30 or more because we don't want to use government guarantee to take on someone's bad debt. So the debt has to be current. Then once we get the eligibility, then you can look at the other things like cash flow. Is there enough money coming in versus going out to cover the debt service on that loan and all the other financial obligations of that business? What is the owner contributing as far as equity injection? There's not 100% business financing. You've got to have some equity to put into the deal. Of course, management and technical expertise of the owners in that line of business. They're going to look at the owner's credit history. I know a lot of time we get people asking about, well, can I use business? I want to build business credit, and definitely you want to do that. But for the most part, for a long period of time, until that business is really, really, really established, they are going to come back to the owner and that owner's credit history. And then you have to pledge any available collateral. Um, we don't, the official policy is we don't decline, the agency doesn't decline deals because there's a lack of collateral. But if there is collateral available, it has to be pledged uh, to be considered. And lender match is simply a tool that we have to basically connect borrowers to participating SBA approved lenders that have opted in to participate in lender match. Basically, the borrower fills out a quick questionnaire about how much they're looking for, what the proceeds would be used for, generally what their credit history is, and maybe some other things. And then the system will look at that profile, that questionnaire response, and notify lenders that look like that's a type of deal they would be interested based on what they've supplied to the system in terms of what they're looking for, and notify them that, oh, this is a prospective match or a prospective borrower, and then they can reach out and initiate that conversation. If there's construction companies on with us today, if not, please pass this on. SBA also guarantees surety bonds, and that's for contract surety bonding for bid. If you have to submit a bid, especially on government work, state, local, and federal, you got to have a surety bond for that. And then if you win the bid or win the deal, then you have to provide a performance and or payment bond, and in some cases a maintenance bond. We can help facilitate that. For contracts up to $9 million, if it's a federal contract or a contract in a declared disaster area, that could actually go up to 14 million. Counseling and training. Of course, you just heard from our friends at UGA, Small Business Development Center. In addition, and then I think Brian mentioned them earlier, SCORE, which is our volunteer partner organization. We do have women business centers, veterans business outreach centers, and USACs, U.S. Export Assistance Centers, that we work with Exim Bank and Department of Commerce with on that. One note I want to make, though, because this gets to be confusing sometimes, people contact me or I'll talk to someone and say, oh, I was in your office in Savannah, or I was in your office in Augusta. SBA has one district office, and that is in Atlanta. These are our resource partners. We have a contractual relationship with them to provide programs and services on our behalf. So the counselors and consultants are actually employees of the host organization, not the SBA, and the host organizations are not part of the SBA. They are independent entities that we have a contractual or a grantor relationship with. So I just wanted to point that out. Online resources, of course, SBA.gov, which if you have not gone to, I suggest that you do. We have a lot of information. I think we've done a lot with the site over the years. Two main things to point out is our National Small Business Resource Guide, which is available on the site, and our learning platform, where you can actually go on and do online mini courses on a variety of subjects from I'm thinking about starting a business all the way to I have a mature business. I'm now ready to do something else. Maybe I want to sell it or what have you. And then we have Thrive, Emerging Leaders Reimagine, which is an extended course offering that we have. Usually starts in July, ends in in December. So it goes for some time, meetings once a month, online work, and basically it's geared towards existing businesses, been in business at least 3 years, have achieved a level of revenues at least 250,000, have an employee other than the owner, and they're looking to go to the next level with that business and to do so in a strategic manner. So they cover all the big topics, from business leadership to sales and marketing, a lot of time on the financials and financial operations, really understanding what those financial statements mean and what they tell you and how to act accordingly. And then, of course, they will go over forms of capital that's available and government contracting as well. You come out with a 3-year strategic growth plan for your business that as part of the graduation process, you have to present before a panel of experts and get feedback on. So we do have a course in Atlanta, but I'm pretty certain the Columbia office in South Carolina has at least one, maybe two. So I'm sure they would be glad to take you uh, as well. Government contract really quickly. You know, government, we spend roughly around 600 billion, give or take, every fiscal year. By law, 23% of those dollars have to go to small business. And then there's other goals for other subcategories of small business as shown there. And I just share that because except for small business, which is you self-certify as a small business, there's a corresponding formal certification to say I am in that category, goal category. I'm the type of business that can meet that, help that agency meet that goal. And so you have to submit an application to SBA and be approved to have these statuses. Normally, until like maybe the fall, you had to apply 4 different times for 4 different systems for each one of these. As of a few months ago, we now have one place where all the federal government contracting certifications can be accomplished, and that's the site there. And then finally, the Mentor Protege program, which basically helps small business proteges connect with, they actually identify a prospective mentor to work with, and that doesn't have to be a small business, even though, a large business, even though many of them are, they can be a more experienced small business. And basically, they come up with a development plan for that mentor, for that protege, sorry. Um, and based on the needs that are identified, they have a plan. And here's some of the things that they can address in that plan, just general business development assistance and support, financial assistance, as in providing loans or bonding support or equity investment, procurement assistance, and the ability to form joint ventures even if it's a large business that can work with a small business on small business contracts. And this is basically how to stay connected to us here in Georgia. We're on LinkedIn and X, probably a little more on LinkedIn than X at this point in time. And if you are not in Georgia, uh, you can definitely go to our website under local resources and get the contact information, for example, for the South Carolina district office. And I believe that is it for me.
Well, Brian, are you there? If you're there, you're on mute.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I forgot I was still on mute. So yeah, I want to thank Terry for her very informative presentation, and also Eric for all the information about the Small Business Development Center. And for those of you that joined late, I noticed several people did come in partway through. If you missed some of the presentations, we did record this session, and it will be available at the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce website at mygabc.org. And once we get that link, we'll also be disseminating that. Terry Dennison will send that out from the SBA office, and the SBDC will send it to their contacts, and I'll be sending it to all 63 counties as well, to all the chambers and economic development directors, et cetera, to try to get this around so that lots of people can get this valuable information. So I want to thank again the Downtown Development Authority of Augusta and the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and we hope we found the information useful. Please don't hesitate to reach out to learn more information. And Ronique, if you wanted to say any parting words about availability for the recording, or
No, once it has rendered completely, and we can put it on our YouTube, so it'll be on our YouTube page with the other recordings. And so you can just like us on our YouTube page at the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce. There's a lot of education information out there for any business owners that are on the phone already, probably years worth. So I'm pretty sure some information a lot of people can use out there. But once it's available, I will send it over to you. And thank you to our partners, SBA, SBDC, and Downtown Development Authority. Always great working with you guys, and let us know if you need anything else.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
thanks everyone. Stay safe in the snow out there.